Actually been quite a while now since we last spoke to you.
It
So it
has
must have
indeed.
been a year.
A good year.
Yeah. So tell me what you've been doing in that year that we haven't seen you for a while.
I have been working with tons of small businesses that are having a very exciting time at the moment. It's a challenge for a lot of small businesses, and interesting things happening in the economy, costs of living. That's having an impact on businesses as well. There's a lot of things that haven't been talked about there. For example, in the media, the cost of overdrafts, the cost of business borrowing have all increased, as well as the cost of everybody's mortgage. That's been the kind of focus of the newspapers. But on the flip side, there's a lot of new businesses starting up. There are people everywhere that have either been made redundant and decided to go out and live life on their terms and start a small business, or there are people that have got to the end of retirement and they still want a side income as well. So I'm seeing a lot of energy in the small business sector at the moment, which makes it an exciting time for.
So I spend a lot of time on social media, like a bit like my marketing, going out to see what's out there and available, who I can inviting. Because I kind of see a lot of new businesses that I haven't seen before. That's
Yeah.
kind of new. You can tell them they're kind of new because the followers are very low to start with. So it's nice to see that change, see new shops opening as well, new ideas in shops.
It's really interesting. We saw a few months ago that that jump from Twitter to Threads. And what I found with Threads was, as soon as you're starting to go on there and search geographically for people, you're starting to see a whole new audience that you weren't aware of before.
So tell me how that works, because I don't really do much on Twitter.
Yeah.
I kind of link them so I don't have to deal with it. So what's changed in Twitter that's...
So the ownership of Twitter changed to Elon Musk
Yep.
over a little while. Twitter's quite an interesting place to have conversations. It's very politically fueled at times. It's quite an emotive place. And Mark Zuckerberg decided that they were going to put a product into the marketplace to compete with Twitter, which is called Threads. And it's a carbon copy to a large extent. But it meant that everybody was starting their social media journey all over again.
Okay, like a hard reset.
And if you think about that hard reset, you can think, well, actually, who do I want in my circle of influence? Who do I want to talk to? Who do I want to spend time listening to? And for me, as I say, that gave me the opportunity to look very hyper local as to who are the accounts here in Camberley, who are the accounts in Farnborough, who do I want to follow? And it was a really interesting opportunity that when you saw somebody new pop up in Farnborough or Camberley or Guildford, and it says, they've posted their first thread, I'd then comment on it and say, welcome to Threads. Great to see you here. Tell us about your business. And it sparked so many conversations with new people that I never would have connected with before. Whereas Twitter, there's a lot of political parties on there. There's a lot of political bots that are driving messages. In a very different way than the newer platforms at the moment. There's a lot of new social media platforms out there. Mastodon's another one. There's another one called Blue Sky that's just in beta phase at the moment. So that kind of social media landscape is changing as we speak.
Notice that on my changing my web theme and stuff, there's a lot more social media icons appearing. I think, oh, that's new. I've not seen that. So I still kind of stick to like your Facebook and your Twitter or kind of X now. And Instagram. I find TikTok's kind of... I think TikTok is very much what do you call it? It's... There's so many people on it to point that you can't make any kind of movement forwards.
Yeah.
So we'll post some stuff on there. Like the other day, Alex did something really funny. Couldn't stop him giggling. Was just in an intro, put it up on there. Within like seconds, it rose to 2,000 views. Then it kind of just stopped. And then I posted 2 outtakes from Tammy's video we did at the dressing up shop, and I did it on shorts on YouTube, and jumped to 12,000 views within an hour. It's like, wow, that does more than shorts.
It's phenomenal how the different audiences
Yeah.
and the different platforms can have a totally different effect on the same piece of content. And if you repost the same piece of content that's done particularly well, sometimes it will do really well again, and other times it will absolutely bottom out. So the kind of algorithms that sit behind there, there's a lot of people that say, oh, we can hack the algorithm, we can do this, that and the other. But sometimes it just feels like you're in the hand of the gods when you're posting something.
Just praying.
Yeah.
Just post and pray. So what's your favourite top 2 social media platforms?
I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. That's my kind of professional platform to be on. Facebook, again, you're kind of in that age range of the 40-somethings are still quite busy on Facebook. It also, Messenger as a whole, Messenger and WhatsApp are so day to day used in our businesses now.
Yeah.
That kind of being on the Meta platform is quite an important place to be. But for fun, where I sit there 10 o'clock at night thumbing through is definitely either Twitter or Threads, because that's where I tend to find the news that's unfiltered a little bit more on Twitter and Threads. So that's tends to be my social platform more than anything.
And we've got the new kind of thing coming now. It's talked about quite a bit. They seem to be adding in a lot more software as well. And we've got AI.
We have. AI has got a phenomenal set of opportunities for small business at the moment. So that's a really exciting thing. I've spent about 2 years researching different parts of AI and how it's going to affect business as well. And I think most people are totally blasé and unaware, apart from ChatGPT that's been on the front page of the Telegraph regularly.
That's like everywhere, because everyone talks about that. I've got Grammarly, which I normally use anyway, because my English is not brilliant, so I kind of put it in there and realise AI has been added as like Grammarly Go.
Yeah.
Oh, I try that one out, because it's obviously based on credit as well.
Yeah.
So I start putting some of my titles in there, and they pop back. I thought, that pops. So we use that, and then rewriting. I kind of just put a couple of paragraphs in. As long as you've got the company name, if it's well known on the internet, it goes off, comes back with a whole history of stuff, as if thinking that's really good.
So if you think about the impact that that's going to have on the business community, in a lot of ways, AI is just searching for patterns. So patterns of text is what you're talking about with Grammarly and ChatGPT, and other things, other engines. There's 4 main engines to artificial intelligence: image-based and language-based engines, and to a large extent, most of it is pattern-based. So bookkeeping is literally matching a figure on a bank statement with a figure on an invoice. So bookkeeping can be automated and systemized through artificial intelligence really, really quickly. So in the next few years, I say few years because it's probably going to be months rather than years, the accountancy industry is going to change from all the menial, mundane day-to-day tasks will start to disappear because they'll become automated, and our accountants and bookkeepers will do the high-skilled tasks, the tax planning, and bits like that. If you look at the other parts of AI, the image processing is fantastic. I can take a picture of myself and I can turn myself into an astronaut and all sorts of other interesting things for fun. But that same image engine can be taught to look for similarities and differences. So you think about those puzzles you did as a kid, spot the difference. Well, that is the technology that's behind looking for breast cancer in x-rays, because they've programmed the system with hundreds of images of what a tumour looks like in breast cancer and all the varieties of medical history of tumours, and then it programs them with what a good image looks like. And very quickly, in seconds, it can start to detect on new files what is a good product or a good x-ray and what's a bad x-ray. So there's phenomenal opportunities for business and for healthcare, for law, and so many different areas. I think people just aren't switched on to it yet. So there's a gentleman that's often misquoted called Klaus Schwab, and he wrote a book about the 4th Industrial Revolution. And this is, conspiracy theorists love the book, but if you actually think about the underlying principle of artificial intelligence, is that we automate mundane tasks. So tasks like driving, having an automatic car that drives itself, or a driverless car, takes the risk of humans having accidents, takes away those tiredness when you're driving. You know, taxi drivers' jobs will disappear, lorry drivers' jobs will disappear, bus drivers' jobs will disappear, and we're in that dangerous phase that we could be like the coal miners of the 1970s. You know, my family was always taxi drivers, or my family was always coal miners, and are we going to adapt and change and upskill? And that's the real challenge for people, you know, understanding what the opportunities are and then retraining to kind of stay relevant, really.
I remember reading an article when they're talking about like automated car driving, because we know it's here, but obviously laws kind of saying still sit behind and drive that. But they're kind of saying now that we could be all having pool cars that we don't actually own, and we could just put it on a bit like an Uber, but obviously self-drives, picks you up, drops you off.
We've got 3 vehicles in our family, of which one car's always sat at home because there's only 2 of us to drive. So could I literally dial an Uber or an Enterprise car club car on a Thursday for it to be delivered itself on the Friday? I see village halls and stuff like that effectively becoming carpools in the future if we're smart. You could have 10 or 20 car charging points, a bit like the Tesla stations that we see about. And, you just book your 4x4 or your convertible or the van that you need to move house at the weekend, and it arrives and then delivers itself back when you've finished with it. If you think about the cost of ownership, actually, it's a smart decision. Smart for the economy, smart for the environment as well.
So I noticed they also talked about having all these electric cars plugged into charging. So if we have a peak in power that needs to be back on the grid can pull it from the cars. When you wake up in the morning, it's recharged again. So another way of plugging into the network.
There's a lot happening in the green science. My background was electrical engineering for 20 years, and there's a lot happening there in the background where we've got phenomenal opportunities, but the infrastructure's got to catch up and catch up very, very quickly. There's a lot of investment being made there at the moment.
Take a bit, but we'll get there. I think we'll get there sooner than we actually think.
We're a similar kind of age, and I'm sure you'll remember the Jetsons on television as a child. We were thinking about flying cars by the year 2000. So I'm a little bit disappointed, really, that we've kind of got to 2023. We've not got the flying cars. We've not got the robots in our house to the same extent. But I think we're going to see there's a law of technology called Moore's law, which talks about the processing speeds increasing exponentially every time that they release a new processor. And I think we're going to see that with artificial intelligence now is going to be so quick in the uptake in different things. There's a company called Seeing Machines that have got a fantastic piece of software that's got a camera in lorries, these big dumper trucks, big excavators, and it monitors the driver's face all the time that they're driving these massive mining pieces of equipment. And then and train drivers is another great example, but they can see when you're starting to have micro sleeps or facial changes that relate to you going to sleep. And if we can prevent all those kind of accidents with clever technology, just think about how quickly the world becomes a little bit of a safer place through actually very simple technology.
And also, there was is it Tokyo? I think it might be Tokyo, where their underground tubes are all automated, been automated for quite some years now. Yeah. So when it feels like it's got an issue, it parks itself and books itself into repair.
Yeah.
And they're kind of saying that it doesn't take holiday, it doesn't go sick. And they've been doing it for quite years.
Without getting emotive about the union side of things, it wasn't that long ago that, we've got a monorail at Gatwick Airport, and that's been there for 20 or 30 years. So the technology's there, and we can make it safe, and the more we invest in it, the safer we can make it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting times.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, definitely interesting times. So, is anything sticks out to you that, from the AI or the new changes coming up that you kind of like the most?
It's very interesting. Small businesses focus on bright, shiny things, and actually, there's a lot of things that you can do which are very basic that can save you time. So I'm a great advocate of doing anything that's going to give me more time back in my day. So there's things. A fancy industry term for it is robotic process automation, which basically means getting the computer to do the mundane things. So there's tools out there that can clean your inbox of all the spam on a regular basis. If you're like me, you get hundreds of emails a day, and actually there's probably 5 or 6 that you actually need to look at. They can be flagged, color-coded, put into spam folders, bits and pieces like that. That's a great tool. Another one is using tools that if you're holding Zoom meetings that actually annotate your meeting for you. So the artificial intelligence listens to the conversation, creates a set of notes and an agenda and a list of action points from your meeting. So at the end of it, you've just got to edit that document. And
that will save a lot of time.
That saves a huge. You think about all the parish council meetings, all the business meetings, things like that, and a free piece of software at the moment can do that for you. So there's lots of small things that I say to people: go and look at the things that are going to make your life easier. Whatever you're doing at the moment that's mundane and monotonous, and you're doing on a regular basis, find a way to automate that before you think about doing the clever and the fun things. We talked about cleaning the audio, the video files and the audio files from here, taking out background noise. That's something that before you would have spent hours playing with levels and trying to get things right, and that can do it in probably a minute or less now.
Yeah, because I always done recording and think, oh, it's got that background noise in it, or that car made me jump, and you think it's going to sound awful. And it kind of sometimes depends on the microphone. You've got to invest a lot of good microphones to get the decent bit. But now that feature came this year from Final Cut Pro, and I'm going, Wow, that's going to change so much.
Photoshop at the moment, they've introduced another new artificial intelligence feature. My partner runs a photography studio, and they would have all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of different floors, and she photographs babies, so it'd be on a wooden floor and then it'd be on a coloured background, and literally they can draw a marquee around the object. You get the marching ants, and then you can tell it what you want the new background to be, and Photoshop will go off and find an image to put into there. That opens a whole new set of conversations about copyright and who owns the final image if all of the component parts have come from different sources. But they're healthy conversations that we can have, and there's a lot of people on their high horse about plagiarism and things like that at the moment. And I think we can use artificial intelligence as a basis in our marketing and bits like that. But we do still want it to have our voice. So
still got like human element.
People buy from people.
Yeah.
We want to hear your experience. The reason we're here talking today is because we're sharing a moment together, but we're sharing the experiences that we've had to give each other knowledge that we didn't have beforehand. So I think actually the human interactions that we have will become more and more important when there's more of that kind of automated, machine-driven messages out there in the marketplace as well.
Can you, because we'll finish this off, because obviously we've been chatting for a while, but can you predict what you may think will be coming up in the next couple of years?
Very interesting. I had this conversation with an economic development officer from the council, and he said to me, what do you think the jobs of the future will be? And I thought, do you know what? I think that AI is going to simplify our lives enough for us that we're going to start to focus on the big humanity problems in the next 10 years. So I think that the jobs of the future, there's a ton of jobs to do with artificial intelligence and computer programming, but I think the real problems of energy and resources are going to be the focus of the jobs for the kind of next generation once we've mastered that computer generation. Interestingly, a few years ago there was some statistics out there about how much computer resources it took for you to send a tweet and for that to live on in the universe of computing, and nobody's really having the conversation about artificial intelligence and the resources that are going to be needed to power all of this AI. You know, Google and various other companies have been putting data centers into the North and South Pole recently. You know, how much resource is that going to take?
Yeah, that's the upside, isn't it? You've got all this AI power, but the AI power requires like a data center of its own to power the mind.
Well, the thought I'll leave you with, really, if I put a data center under the sea in the Antarctic or the Arctic Circle, and I'm doing that to cool my data center, as an engineer, my background would say that if we're moving energy from one place to another, we do a transfer of energy. So if we move it from electricity to heating, you know, we burn the electricity to heat something. So if we're going to cool something, where's the heat going?
Yeah.
So are we going to cause more problems for ourselves by cooling all these data centers and warming up the Arctic Circle water in exchange for cooling the data centers? So I think there's a massive conversation when we have that about the environment and what we're going to do with technology in the next 100 years, really.
Yeah, I mean, from my IT point of view, is when things run faster, they generate much more energy. Now we're on quantum computing. That requires a hell of a lot of cooling down. So yeah, that's a good point.
There's some interesting conversations to be there.
Thank you very much for joining me
today.
Really
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dee Shepherd from SMJ Media Group. If you like what we do and if you enjoyed what you heard today, then please do continue to support us. Support us in our conversations, in our events, in our communication, and how we publish and how we promote all local businesses. So, how do you do that? Well, you can buy me a coffee. Where? buymeacoffee.com/SMJ Media Group.